Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, March 21st, 2025. You know what that means? We're going to talk about this week's cannabis policy and science news, and I'm going to try to answer your burning questions live. So let's get down to it, friends. Welcome back, everyone who's been here before. Take a quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this on Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern, and I'd love to see you back here. Now, tell me where you're watching from. Drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, and let me know if you've got a burning question that you want to see me try to tackle. Hey, Samuel, welcome back, friend. Samuel is in North Carolina and says, let's pass House Bill 413 to legalize it. That's right. House Bill 413 was introduced in North Carolina this week. Let me see what we, it didn't pop up. I believe that we have an action alert. We have an action alert up for that. And there's also, Samuel, there was also Senate Bill 350 was introduced recently as well. Yeah, view bill digest. Let's do that, shall we? Yeah, it looks like an adult use retail bill as well. So some things going on. I just clicked this, and so now we're going to read it. You're welcome, Samuel. Samuel apparently has already reached out about the legislation that has gotten a, quote, lame-ass excuse from Representative Pless. Oh, yeah, thank you for reaching out. And hey, feel free to forward us that response. Would love to see it. We can include it in the Representative Smoke the Vote profile. How about that? Hey, Nick, welcome back. Hey, Joshua, what's up with you? Hey, Paul in Texas. Hey, Woodyard, good to see you, friend. Hello, Brother Nature in Georgia. Hi, Ellie. Happy Friday to you in Charlottesville. Joshua, I don't want to know about those kinds of burning questions. Joshua says if you have a burning question, it's also a good idea to see a doctor. Not those kind, please. Let's see what's happening over on Instagram. Hey, Horror of Spice in Arizona. Hey, Sputnik 57J in Mississippi. Hello, Smell Your Own in Pennsylvania. Oh, we have someone watching from Japan. I love that. Hi. What else do we? Deregulate it. Okay, great. Thanks, Samuel. Definitely forward us that email. I want to see it. I want to see the response. Hey, Melissa. Good to see you. Okay. Let's get into it. So, for those of you interested in Virginia legislation, I can tell you that there has been no action as of, just prior to the show starting. There's been no action on the pending cannabis-related bills in Virginia that are on the governor's desk. But the deadline for action is Monday, 11:59. So let's see what happens. Could there be some bills signed over the weekend? Yes. Is it likely that vetoes would be dumped on the weekend? No, that's more likely to happen Monday. So everyone who's following that information, We'll let you know when it happens. Hey, Justin. Speaking of Virginia, Justin asks, why, if you have a medical card and live in the Shenandoah Valley, do you have to drive 2 hours southeast, north, or southeast to utilize to access a medical dispensary? Great question, Justin. Here's the shortest answer I can give you on that: lawsuits. So originally a license was awarded for that sort of top part of the state, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so this was Board of Pharmacy, under Board of Pharmacy at the time, and Board of Pharmacy rescinded their license and opened another application. So that first application process started and then got halted because of litigation. First of all, the rescinding of the license part, there was litigation there. Then the second licensing process, there was litigation that stopped that. Then the Cannabis Control Authority took over the medical program, and they sort of revisited that second RFA that was underway and accepted applications again and awarded a license. So a license has been awarded to AIR for HSA 1, which is the area you're talking about. Guess what there is? Litigation. So there are legal challenges underway. Now, we do know that the AIR, the company that's been awarded the license, is moving forward as best they can, but there is still litigation underway, which is terrible for people who live in that part of the state and don't have convenient access to dispensaries. As much as that sucks, Justin, I can tell you that you can get delivery. If you're having any issues with that, you can reach out to Virginia NORML, and we'll help you there with making sure that you're connected to the dispensary that can serve you wherever you are, but you can get delivery there. Hey, Fred. Happy Friday. Justin, regarding your question about HSA should have been awarded to a Virginia company, you know, what I can tell you about that is that that's not a requirement in the current code that regulates how licenses are awarded for the medical cannabis program. Remember, that code was created way back in like 2016, 2017, and under a conservative legislature, and there just are not any criteria that stipulate that's requirement or that that's even a priority. So it did go through a lottery process, which is not uncommon in cannabis licensing. Since NORML is not an industry organization, our concern is only for the patients who are having difficulty, like you, accessing cannabis. Nick, I'm going to read your question, and I hope that I'm not missing another part of it and that this is the totality of the question. Let me know if not. Nick asks, where states okay, I think, Nick, what you're asking is about where states have medical but not adult use. Oh, states that have both. Thank you. Okay, where states have adult use and medical, what's the difference between allowing patients to grow their own medicine at home as opposed to letting not everyone? Yeah, it varies by state. Some states allow personal cultivation for everyone. Virginia allows personal cultivation for everyone. Some states do not. Some states restrict personal cultivation to just medical cannabis patients. And the why is going to be, a specific answer for each state as to how their program started, and what came with that versus what came after. There's not any rhyme or reason to it. And it's not consistent across states. But I would agree, it is strange to say, well, these people can, but these people can't. Hey, JM Rand 58 on Instagram says Indiana will never legalize. I don't know about never, but it's elections have consequences, and you're feeling those in Indiana for sure. I hope that answered your question, Nick. If not, let me know. All right, let's talk about some of this week's news, though I didn't do a good job at fleshing out this document. So I gotta open another one. Tom, shut up. All right, let's think about how we're gonna do these. What do I want to do first? I think this one's pretty interesting. We got a short news week for you, friends. Okay. So remember how Canada legalized cannabis for every adults? Remember that? Nationwide. Cannabis is legal in Canada, and their sky's not falling. But you know what's happening there? Alcohol sales have experienced historic declines, while simultaneously retail cannabis sales have spiked. I think that's kind of entertaining. It's also consistent with what we've seen happen in other states, and in other analyses. That's the word I was looking for. We've seen this. Anyhow, let's see a little bit more about this. It says, while survey data finds that many consumers acknowledge substituting cannabis for alcohol, some studies report dips in alcohol sales post-legalizations, and others reported no significant changes. But take a look at this new analysis from Statistics Canada, and we have the link to the whole data set if you want to take a deeper dive into that. Let's see. I don't like how this is. Let's talk about, hey Ryan, welcome back. Happy Friday. Let's talk about Maryland, because Maryland. So much like I did here last year for Virginia medical cannabis patients for employment protections, we fixed the existing employment protections law to make sure it included public employees. My colleague Paul is doing that in Maryland. And so far, members of the Senate have approved Senate Bill 1023 in Maryland and have sent it over to the House. Now, Melissa, what is that? What this will do is, I'm waiting for it to post. Here we go. 1023 stipulates that fire and rescue public safety workers who are participating in Maryland's medical cannabis program cannot be disciplined, discharged, or otherwise discriminated against. Where have we heard that language before? Solely because they test positive for marijuana metabolites in a urinalysis. So very similar to the employment protections law that exists in Virginia. Fingers crossed that Maryland's gonna finish it and get it done. Good job, Maryland Senate. Hey, to the people who just joined us on Instagram, thanks. Why don't you go ahead and hit that follow button? Also, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer those. That's what we're doing here. Right, so that's some great news out of Maryland. That one was from last week. Okay. This one's, I feel like we're going to get into some really sad ones, and I don't want to go there. This one is, no, thanks. Maybe don't do that in our, I don't want your comments soliciting stuff in our live. Okay. I'm just dropping the link without comment. One of the stories that would have been delivered to your inbox if you're a subscriber to NORML News this Thursday would be about a study that looks at patients who have hypermobility. And I'm sure you all will be very, very surprised to learn that these patients reported sustained improvements in their symptoms following their use of medical cannabis. I know that is very shocking. Try to stay with me here. This is a study that was done in London, in the UK. They have a medical cannabis program there, and this assessed the use of either botanical cannabis or extracts in 161 patients who have hypermobility disorders like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And it looked at patient outcomes at 3, 6, 12, and 18 months, and the patients did report sustained improvements in like pain-specific metrics, and as well as improvements in sleep and anxiety after starting medical cannabis treatment. Hey, White Marley, I see you. Hello, doctor. I see you too. Hi, Queen Jane. I had a week. Thank you for asking. Oh, is it Melissa? Melissa says that that's a common issue with ADHD patients as well. Do you mean hypermobility? I think that's what you mean. Oh, I'm sure, Queen. I'm sure. Okay, so we did alcohol, we did hypermobility, we did Maryland. I have two sort of think pieces to share with you. We'll just do this one first because it makes me feel sad. This one makes me feel sad, but also this isn't. I'm going to tell you about a study, and nothing about it is surprising. There is a higher rate of substance use amongst people who have mental health issues. So when we saw this, it was no surprise to hear the outcomes. There's a longitudinal study done, and the researchers reported that childhood depression, suicidal ideation, things like this that occur, emotional problems like this that occur in early childhood are significantly predictive of teen marijuana and tobacco use. So these findings are consistent with previous ones that reported adolescents who suffered from depression are more likely to use cannabis later in life and not vice versa. So read that. Thank you, Queen Jane, for getting your sister. We'll wait for you. We'll be right here. Hey, Sam. Hey, 420 Fellowship. I see you. Just join. Thanks. Okay. Here are two pieces that I want to share with you next. We've had this conversation. Oh, I'm going to do this one instead. NORML's board of directors has a new chair. His name is Joe Bondi. He's an attorney in New York. He's been on the board for some time. He's a member of the NORML legal committee. All around great dude. And he authored another piece for the NORML blog. He did one maybe like 2 weeks ago. And here's this one. Excuse me. He has authored a piece about Women's History Month. So I should have put that in quotes, whatever. This is an excerpt from that piece. And here is the link to that piece. If you're watching on Instagram, I'm sorry that I cannot joyfully share all of these quotes and links with you. However, you can find all of them on the NORML website at norml.org. They will also be posted to our Instagram over the week, but you could also just get them delivered to your inbox. If you go to norml.org/subscribe, it's also right there on the front page in the top corner. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so you get Saturday deliveries as well. NORML News of the Week comes out on Thursdays at about 4:20 Eastern because we're funny. And then on Saturday, you get NORML's weekend weed read, which is going to cover some of the things that we had on Thursday, as well as anything new that happens between Thursday and Saturday. And that comes out at about 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on Saturdays. So if you do that, you won't miss any of this. But here we go. Joe writes in his piece about Women's History Month that, quote, "From the beginning, women have played pivotal roles in the cannabis movement, often without due recognition, challenging outdated laws, fighting stigma, protecting people, and helping to build an industry from the ground up." If you want to read more of Joe's thoughts on some of the trailblazers and women leading the charge in cannabis, then check that out on the front page of NORML. And White Marley, I see your question. White Marley has a question for us on Instagram about sponsorship. I don't know what that other, I don't know what the reference is that you're making there, so that doesn't have anything to do with me. But is maybe, hey, just email me. Email me and ask me your question at advertise@norml.org. Tell me what you're trying to do, and we can talk about the different sponsorship options that we have at NORML. Hey, Chris. Greetings to you. As I told Queen a little bit ago, I did have a week. Thank you for asking. We're glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for encouraging people to upvote, to like our stuff. Okay, so getting back to our news, check the front page and see if there's anything else that we missed. We didn't, but this one I think bears repeating. If you've been here, you've heard us talk about this before, but we're going to talk about it again right now. NORML's been sounding the alarm since the beginning of the year that cannabis consumers, their rights, legalization, and medical cannabis access are under attack around the country. I don't say this to be hyperbolic or to be exaggerated. I do tell you, because it's alarming, you should be deeply concerned about this if these are your priorities. The good news is we have been able to fend off some of these attacks, but there are still plenty of bad bills out there that are looking, to strip you of your rights and your freedoms, and in some states, your access to safe, legal, regulated cannabis products. Paul writes in his most recent blog, which was also published as an op-ed, that, quote, those who support legalizing marijuana are not part of the ideological fringe. We are the majority. It's time for us to act like it, and for lawmakers to treat cannabis consumers with the respect they deserve. I would agree with that. What, thank you, Queen. Queen says, smoke it or not, we are under attack, period. And I love when Google kicks me out of something in the middle of the show. It's so helpful. You're not wrong. That is exactly what we're talking about. There are so many bad bills this year, and we saw some of them last year, but there are so many more this year, so many more efforts to repeal access, to raise taxes. We've got Michigan and Maryland proposing tax hikes. Cannabis consumers are being treated like targets, not like constituents, like targets, like ATMs, like by your elected officials, your lawmakers, people who represent you are treating you like cash cows. First and foremost, there is no cannabis industry without cannabis consumers. So consumers ought to always be the priority in cannabis policy discussions that impact them. Even when it's an industry-related issue, if you aren't censoring consumers, you're kind of doing it wrong, right? Because that's who makes or breaks you, is your consumers. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa says, I love that sentiment times a million. It's true. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. Charlie says the reefer madness is strong amongst some politicians. Yes, it is. And it is like really spicy this year. This is a new level of crazy, I have to say. Keep in mind, 70% of Americans, including majorities of both Democratic voters and Republican voters, say that marijuana should be legal for adults, but lawmakers this session from both parties are putting cannabis consumers in their crosshairs. This piece goes on to read that in Republican states like Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, and South Dakota, lawmakers are trying to repeal or significantly roll back voter-approved legalization laws. And then in Democratic-led states like California, Maryland, Michigan, and New Jersey, lawmakers are attempting to undermine existing legalization markets by drastically hiking cannabis taxes. These concerted attacks on state legal marijuana markets are an explicit reminder that the war on cannabis and its consumers remains ongoing and in some cases is escalating. There's only one organization that represents consumers. That's all we do. We're only here for you, to represent you and your interests in the policy debate surrounding cannabis. If you haven't joined NORML, today's the day. If you haven't visited our Take Action Center, today is also that day. I'm going to grab a link for that and put it in the chat for you. If you're watching on Instagram, you can find the Take Action Center right on the front page of NORML. There's a toolbar and it says Take Action, or there's a drop-down menu if you're looking at it on mobile, and you'll see Take Action. That is the Take Action Center. And it can scroll a little bit here. I want you to visit that, and I want you to see the map of the US and how many pending bills we're tracking for you right now, that we have action alerts. 106. There are 106 marijuana bills pending across the US that NORML has action alerts drafted for, that you go to this page, you find your state, you find the bill, you click that link. It's going to take you maybe 30 seconds. Maybe 30 seconds if you have to type manually your address in there. or your zip code rather. 30 seconds, and you're going to be able to send an email that's going to appear in your lawmakers' inboxes directly from you. It's not coming from, it won't look like it's coming from us. It goes to this platform, but it's coming from your email address and it goes straight to them. And then they can respond back to you. And depending on what they say, maybe you want to share it with us. Maybe they say something ridiculous or something really supportive. Either way, if you get a response from your lawmaker, feel free to send it to us so that we can add their comments into their Smoke the Vote profile. Not only do we share tools with you that's not how it works. Not only do we share tools with you for taking action on pending legislation, we have a whole voter guide. And there are, yes, Queen, and New Jersey has 8 bills. There are some special elections coming up. Let me tell you what those are real quick. Oh, I think Florida, yes. So South Carolina on the 25th. So Tuesday, South Carolina has a special election. This is only for State House District 113. There is a special election in South Carolina. And then Florida has a special election on the 1st of April. That's a fun day for elections. But they have a special election in Florida for U.S. House District 1 and U.S. House District 6. Those are going to be really important races for you to vote in if you are in the 1st or 6th district in Florida, which are congressional districts. Our interns right now are working hard to find any comments from these electeds. If you have any comments, if you've seen anything, if you know anyone's position, you can submit it right there on Smoke the Vote, or you can email it to us. You're going to find Smoke the Vote at vote.normal.org, and it's going to tell you where the candidates stand on cannabis policy that you'll see on your ballot. Hello to the people who've just joined us on Instagram. I see you. Drop your comments, drop your questions in the comments if you have any. Let me know where you're watching from. Hit that follow button so you don't miss when we go live next time. Hey, Amina, good to see you. Let's see. Oh, Queen, thank you for that news. I'm not going to read that, though, because it doesn't have anything with the show, but now I want to read it so bad. Okay. Hey, Ramona. Ramona asks, would I know any more about HB 2405 in Kansas? Off the top of my head, you know what? I don't, but we're going to look at it together right now because we have a website for that. Let's take a peek. First of all, let's see if we're tracking it. We're tracking 2 bills in Kansas. We are tracking 2405, and we are tracking Senate Bill 294. We have an action alert. I'll grab that for you real quick and put it in the chat for you. There you go, Ramona. It's in the chat now. Kansas House Bill 2405 would legalize and regulate cannabis for adults 21 plus. I can tell you that 738 constituent emails have gone to lawmakers in support of 2405. But I'm guessing there's probably more than 738 people in Kansas who would support legalizing adult use cannabis. So please be sure to share that with your lawmakers. Let me open up the detail of the bill. This bill has been introduced and referred to the Committee on Federal and State Affairs. That referral happened on March 10th, so 11 days ago. and it's just sitting there. It's sitting in committee. So that's what I can tell you about it. I can also tell you it establishes a 15% tax on cannabis, creates a cannabis business regulation fund to support enforcement and administration. Everything else looks pretty standard. It amends. The bill also amends existing criminal statutes to create legal protections for licensed cannabis businesses and their employees, effectively decriminalizing cannabis-related activities within the regulated framework. The appropriate word, Kansas, would be legalizing, because decriminalizing is something else, but whatever. Cannabis Advisory Committee is established to provide ongoing guidance. Great, that's what I can tell you. Ramona, please make sure people are sharing that action alert. You know what, Queen? I bet New Jersey has more than 8 bills, and that's just what's on our. I bet those are the 8 we decided to track. Let's see, home cultivation of medical cannabis, subsidies for medical cannabis purchasing for qualified patients. Kind of like a banking bill also. A medical cannabis sales tax exemption. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. It's New Jersey. Hey, that's fun. I'm pretty certain my mouse just died. We'll just plug that in real quick and see if it works. Nobody need anything, because we have to look at your comment now for the rest of the show, or until my mouse comes back to life. Thanks so much, Queen. Rix, I see your question. I can't scroll to it quite yet. I bet that was enough to make it function again. Let's see. Was that enough to resuscitate my mouse? No, come on. I'm gonna need you to work right quick. Mouse off. Now it's back on. I'm gonna live dangerously and see if I can. I can't. This is literally the bane of my existence. Tell me more about why criminalized students, Rix. Not that I can read it, because I have to be able to scroll. This is the worst. Okay, let's take it back. New Jersey has, yeah, but New Jersey doesn't have 8 bills. There I go. I got a little juice out of it. Why criminalize students? What do you mean? Tell me more. Tell me more, Rix. What are you talking about? Chris, thank you for asking. Chris says, what email do we send the replies from lawmakers to? Send them to policy@normal.org. I hope that's the right one. Let's find out together. Policy. Yeah, that should work. Policy@normal.org appears to be real. Ramona, you're welcome. Thank you for all you do. Queen, yes, in all seriousness, you have a question. I can't wait to answer it. I hope it's down there. Hey, David. Good to see you. David says, from a consumer standpoint, I'd like the option to buy from a regulated, tested shop, but also buy from a home grower, similar to baked goods via Virginia's cottage food laws. And I know a lot of people would like to be able to sell in such a capacity as well. Here's the thing. You've heard me say this before, so this isn't new. And I can speak with authority about Virginia, probably less so about what other states may or may not let happen. But here, that would be possible but the cannabis would still have to be regulated. It would still have to go through the regulatory provisions that apply to all cannabis. The good news is that the adult use retail sales bill, not the one that's getting vetoed on Monday, but the one you're going to see next. And not to say that it's not in this current iteration as well, but there is a real understanding amongst the legislature that there needs to be that for small businesses, there needs to be very low barriers to entry. You won't see really high licensing fees for small businesses. But the regulations are going to be the same across the board for everyone. Because what matters in that equation is not the business, it's the consumer. And like maybe you can sell like jam and put the label on it that says, hey, maybe this has botulism because I made it in my kitchen, but we're not going to do that with cannabis for a lot of reasons. Dawn, I cannot. Dawn, you've got jokes today. You all listen. Okay. Oh, thank you, Queen. Thank you, Queen. Queen is doing it right. Queen went to Smoke the Vote, said, oh, there's a candidate on there. I've got information, and Queen is submitting that information for us. Thank you so much. I will alert the interns on Monday to make sure they get that into Smoke the Vote. Or maybe I'll get bored over the weekend and do it myself. Okay, so let me read more about what you're saying here. Queen Jane goes on to say, okay, Tahisha Way is a Democrat, and there's a training program in New Jersey, Queen says, that enrolls over 1,000 people, and that this person, Tahisha Way, runs it. Do we know about this? Yes, I have seen plenty of coverage about that program in articles about New Jersey. Why wouldn't they be telling people about this program that she's running? I don't know why people aren't telling, but I think that'd be interesting to include in Smoke the Vote if there's a place for it. David, you're looking forward to reading the next version of the Virginia bill? We're looking forward to writing it. Oh, really? That's weird. Thanks for Queen says this. Queen says there will never be not enough supplier demand because there's too many small growers that are treating or catering to the people that don't go to the dispensaries. Dispensaries are empty in New Jersey. I've never been to a dispensary in New Jersey. Hey, Stephanie. Thanks for your question. Stephanie asks, what can we do here in Georgia to get medical cannabis with a decent amount of THC? So this is a great question, and the short answer, which isn't meant to sound as rude as it is, but as I'm saying it, I realize it sounds kind of direct. Change your laws. In all seriousness, I mean that so seriously. I'm going to open the page on our website for Georgia's program, which I did update recently, but I really want to have it in front of me so I can speak to what your current provisions are. Georgia has a limited medical cannabis law, and I believe your state permits extraction-based products only. Tell me if you know more. And yes, it says patients may obtain ingestible and topical extraction-based formulations. And we have your patient possession limits as this: 20 ounces of infused cannabis oils containing not more than 5% THC and an amount of CBD equal to or greater to the amount of THC. If such substances are okay, so it's got to be at least a 1-to-1 or higher on the CBD end, and you can have up to 20 ounces, which is a lot of oil, and it can't have more than 5% THC. So just from reading this, we're talking about 5% THC in the liquid. We're not talking about, again, this is from what I'm reading here. My understanding based on what I'm reading is that that 5% is specific to the liquid, not to the plant. So we can set that part away and go, okay, let's focus on the product itself. 5% THC. 5% means in the liquid measurement, which is very, very different than saying 5% in the plant. 5% in the plant means 5% by dry weight. That's different. 5% in a liquid measurement means 50 milligrams per milliliter. That might not, let me give you a visual for that. A teaspoon is 5 milliliters. 1 little teaspoon is 5 milliliters. That would mean in a teaspoon of oil that is permissible in Georgia, you could have 250 milligrams of THC. I don't know what they're selling. I mean, would also have to have 250 milligrams of CBD, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not certain what types of products are actually coming to market in Georgia. If somebody is buying them in Georgia and wants to communicate directly with us about what you're seeing in your products, and we could offer more advice. But I can also tell you that Georgia, Texas, Virginia, Utah all started out with the same weird extraction-based limited licensure model. And this was like way back in 2015 is when you saw this start to happen. And so 5% THC, when you're doing it in a liquid measurement, is not low THC. It sounds like it is, especially to people who don't have any understanding of science or how to regulate cannabis, which is entirely the situation in Virginia, Texas, Utah, and Georgia. Anyhow, that's what I know. And so what I would say to that, more specifically, Stephanie, is that it would be appropriate to, that percentage doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. 5% in the liquid is fine until you get into like vapes. But you could move away from the percentage and move toward milligrams per dose. That would be the tack. I would suggest for a state like Georgia to say, we do have this percentage. However, this is not consistent with how cannabis is regulated in other parts of the country. And so in order to make our program align with industry standards, we ought to be controlling for the total dose a patient receives instead of using a percentage, which is not how we regulate medicine in the United States. For example, when you go buy Tylenol, or liquid Tylenol in this case, if you're buying liquid Tylenol for your kiddo, it does not tell you the percentage of acetaminophen that is in a teaspoon of liquid Tylenol. It tells you the milligrams. And so that's a better focus. A better focus is not to say, hey, we want to increase the THC in Georgia. You want to say, we want to change how we label products. We want to label products with milligrams. And then you rewrite your language to that, and you write your language that's consistent with what other states are doing. 10 milligrams is a standard dose in most markets. Some states use 5 milligrams, but 10 would probably be more appropriate. And then again, remember that this is going to apply to the types of products you have, ingestibles and topicals. Topicals really don't matter. I wouldn't even try to apply that to topicals. I'd really save that for ingestibles. And then it wouldn't really be appropriate to label inhalable products with the milligrams per dose. There you would use a percentage, but you don't have those right now. You just have topicals and edibles. So those are all my suggestions, Stephanie. Thanks, Nick, for sharing this. Did this article just drop? Nick says on Marijuana Moment, Pennsylvania House passes a bill to strengthen. Tom, are you still here? No, you're not here. You're busy doing something else. Is this super new, or did this happen earlier? Why am I on their website in the middle of the show? Anyhow, apparently Pennsylvania House passed a bill to strengthen the medical cannabis program oversight and testing requirements. Great. Laura says Indiana seriously needs to allow medical, and you are so very right, Laura. That is exactly the focus I would recommend for states that have not yet enacted any meaningful cannabis access. David says, write me in a section that requires paraphernalia to be labeled with county of origin or country of origin. Do you really want that? I mean, if you want it. Country of origin. Do you want that? I don't care. Hey, John. Good to see you. Okay, take that down. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, David, for the laughs. What do I want to tell you about? I have some stuff. Hey, Chris. Chris says, is limiting THC doable consistently? Yes. And then Chris goes on to say, I've heard lab testing can vary. Absolutely can. Here's the thing. If your state, and again, this is still state by state, right? So if your state does not have good laws in place and good regulations in place for labs, for cannabis labs, then your analyses, I cannot stand hearing about COAs, but for this very reason, they could be complete BS if it's not from a regulated lab. We're very careful in Virginia to require that regulated cannabis operators in this state use licensed, accredited, independent, third-party analytical laboratories that have specific qualifications. Every state ought to be doing that, because otherwise your labs are only as good as the laws that regulate them and the scientists that work there, right? If you've got some guy with a mass spec in his garage, that's nothing. You want a scientist who's trained to analyze specifically cannabis working in your well-regulated laboratories. And you want your state to be saying, here is what the permissible levels are based on best practices in other states, right? Here is what's permissible in cannabis. Hey, people that just joined us on Instagram. So yes, it is appropriate to label a serving and a dose with the information that's relevant to that product type. So like an edible product, milligrams per dose, milligrams per package. That's pretty typical to see states set, here's the number of milligrams in total you can have in a package. Here's the number of milligrams that you can have in a dose or a serving. It is appropriate to label inhalable products, meaning a vape product or a flower product, with the percentage. When it comes to metering a dose for an inhalable product, for a vape product, That's done through battery timeout. Also, you can only inhale so much THC at once. It doesn't matter how concentrated, how much is in that one inhalation. Your body can only physically absorb so much at one time. So those two things kind of are already happening based on your physiology. Your body's already controlling for how much you can inhale at once. And then for topicals, I think the thing is you want to be sure that from a public safety standpoint, you want to be sure that a topical is actually a topical and that it isn't something else but labeled as a topical. And as long as it's an actual topical, then it becomes less important what the limits are, because only so much is going to be absorbed through your skin. But it's still fine to put limits on that also. It's fine because patients deserve to know what's in the product that they're ingesting or putting on their body or inhaling. Yes, Jason, I have heard that before. Jason wants to know if we know that cannabis residue has been found in ancient temples. Yes. Yes. Holy smokes, indeed. I see your jokes there. Pennsylvania has, John is commenting on medical cannabis in Pennsylvania, which is already a thing. This legislation is about improving the program. And John goes on to say, however, I want to legalize adult use cannabis in Pennsylvania. Yes, so do we. Very much so. In fact, there have been two separate co-memos authored in Pennsylvania about adult use bills that these lawmakers plan to introduce. And I want to take a moment to chat with Pennsylvania friends about this proposal of state-run dispensaries. Look, Pennsylvania, I know that you do that with your liquor. We do that here in Virginia too, and everyone in Virginia hates it. I understand that people in Pennsylvania hate it there too. It's neither here nor there. That's for alcohol. We don't need to try and shoehorn cannabis into alcohol. Those are not the same. When you go into the alcohol store, you go into the liquor store, you don't get carded. You just walk in the door. Alcohol is all out on the shelves. You pick it up. Maybe you get carded when you go to checkout. That's how alcohol is sold in these state-run stores. Are you going to do the same thing with cannabis? Is that really how you're going to sell cannabis, Pennsylvania? You're just going to have it sitting out there on the shelf in the store that anyone can walk into, or you put it behind some kind of counter? Now let's think about who's working there. Those are state employees. How, Pennsylvania, are you going to say, hey, state employee, we are going to require you to break federal law. We're going to require you, state employee, to sell a federally illegal substance. I would ask those legislators who are proposing this insanity what the Attorney General of Pennsylvania thinks about opening the state up to that level of litigation. Because I know that both when it was a Democratic Attorney General in Virginia and when it was a Republican Attorney General in Virginia, neither one of them were interested in enacting cannabis policies that immediately resulted in litigation. In fact, I distinctly recall at the beginning of one session when Republicans were in charge of the House, I was coming in through the staff entrance of the General Assembly building, and the Speaker of the House stopped to make sure that I was aware of how concerned he was that we weren't going to pass any laws that got them sued. He said, "You're going to make sure we don't get sued, right?" So that's what we're aiming for. So why Pennsylvania? When many other states have already looked at this as a possibility and said, oh no, that is not for us. Why are you, of all states, exploring this? In particular, Democrats in Pennsylvania. Why are you even entertaining that? You know, Utah explored that for their medical cannabis program. Utah said, maybe state-run stores. And then Utah went, ooh, absolutely not. Pennsylvania, do you hear me when I say Utah looked at this and said, no, this is a bad choice? No. This is a stupid idea. So we're working on an action alert for Pennsylvania for this. There is a lobby day for Pennsylvania. I'm trying to, oh, good. I think it's going to open up. Here it is. Where is it? Events. Upcoming events. Okay, I'm dropping it for you in the chat now. Yeah, I see your comment, Nick. Okay, so here's the, on Monday the 24th, one of our local Pennsylvania chapters is having a lobby day at the state capitol, 10 a.m., East Wing Rotunda. You can sign up on the link that I just gave you. And then Nick, I see this. Nick says, Nick is in Pennsylvania, says, I'm not for state stores, but it is what it is. I see reasons why in safety. Right, I can see, we can all understand why these proposals are happening, but the legal implications of this have clearly not been explored by these individuals. Let's also look at this, Nick. Nick, there is a medical cannabis program in Pennsylvania, right? And let me look at the last patient count for Pennsylvania. I know because I just updated all of these pages over the past month. Right now in Pennsylvania, okay, as of November 1st, 2024, in Pennsylvania, there are 440,733 medical cannabis patients. 440,000. And I suspect that's probably grown a little bit since November. That's a lot of people that participate in the medical cannabis program. The medical cannabis program, the best of my understanding in Pennsylvania, employs around 25,000 people. Now, we're not a business association, but I can understand the destruction that comes with nixing 25,000 jobs. And then what about the 440,000 patients that rely on this program? Or is the state saying that they're going to have two different? Is the state proposing that they're going to have a medical cannabis program over here, which has operated since 2016 without issue? And those dispensaries, those licensed businesses are going to continue to exist, and they're going to sell medical cannabis. And then adult use cannabis is going to be sold at liquor stores or at other state-run dispensaries. It's the same product. Do your lawmakers not know that you already regulate cannabis in Pennsylvania? I'm so confused. I'm not. What I know is that these are people who don't do cannabis policy and don't take it seriously and are just thinking for whatever bullshit excuse they can try to shuffle something down the legislative hallway. Look, this is dumb. It's good to have a bill. It's good to be creative. It's good to think outside the box. But something that places the state in legal jeopardy, places medical cannabis access in jeopardy, those jobs, those patients, this is wild. So let's maybe not. Let's maybe just say no to state-run dispensaries. Can we collectively agree that we would like to just say no to state-run dispensaries? And that there's a reason why no other state is doing that. Just saying. Oh, not given. Thank you for that. Yes, Arkansas laws are very, not given to start having this conversation on YouTube about Arkansas and how their laws are very limited. Yes. It's not as limited as some, but you could be doing better. And thank you also for this. Not given says you don't smoke weed while driving in Arkansas. Do not smoke weed and drive anywhere in any state, in any country ever. It is stupid and irresponsible, full stop. Don't drive high. Don't smoke weed while you drive. Just don't ever. It's stupid and irresponsible. Hey, David, I'm going to live dangerously and read your comment live. I'm not going to pre-screen it. David says, hi, first, thanks for the work you guys are doing. You're welcome. Second, you guys, normal. Yes. Sent out an email with a petition to sign. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You got an email that had the incorrect link. That sucks. Yes. Let me get you. Let me get you that link. I got you. Thanks for letting me know. I want to copy this, and of course it won't let me copy it. This is you want the employment protections for, wait, what state is this? David Ryan, tell me the state. Is it Arkansas? Is that what you mean? I see you said something about Arkansas. No, that was somebody else. Tell me, David. What state? Massachusetts. Thank you. I will let Morgan know about that. And you have to look again. You want the employment protections one. It's opening right now. Yep, this is correct. Just make sure. Double check. Okay, so you can find it on our Take Action page, which is normal.org/act. But I just dropped a link in the chat for you, so you will have the link to the action alert. And if any time you're looking for an action alert, go to our Take Action Center, normal.org/act. What is this? What is this nonsense here? I don't. I'm going to scroll past that. It's too distracting. Hey, Laura, thanks for your comment. Laura says, with the numbers you just mentioned for Pennsylvania medical, it is astounding to me that there are states where medical isn't allowed for the population wanting to use it as medical. Hey, if you like 440,000 in Pennsylvania, Laura, you will like nearly 1 million registered patients in Florida. I guess, and Laura goes on to say, I guess states like Indiana do not have people that can benefit from it. I roll, right? Cody, what's up? You guys got the questions this week. Okay, Cody says, what do I think is going to happen with the 3 bills in Ohio right now? So Ohio has 2 bills that we are opposing. They both are different versions that do similar, they're not identical, but they do similar things. The similar things they do is gut Ohio's voter-approved legalization law. And this is Senate Bill 56 and House Bill 160. Now, House Bill 160 was introduced later, so most of the actions have happened through the first alert, which was for Senate Bill 56. There are about 800 actions have been taken on House Bill 160, whereas on Senate Bill 56, there have been 17,212 constituent emails sent to lawmakers opposing this effort. And those are the two, those are the only two that are on our page. There may be other Ohio legislation, but it's not in our tracker. Feel free to let me know what that third one is. What do I think is going to happen? I don't know. It seems like, okay, let's talk about, nothing's happened with 160 other than it's been introduced. But with Senate Bill 56, it's crossed over and it's been referred to Judiciary Committee. It was passed by the Senate and now it's before the House. What this tells me is that 17,000 emails from constituents opposing this is not enough. You will need to dig deep in Ohio. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier about consumers being under attack. Yeah, Gage, I'm not going to engage. No, sorry, I'm not going to engage in sort of pissing contests between industry. When we comment on regulated or unregulated markets that put consumers' health at risk, that's what we're going to talk about. If there's studies that say, hey, 95% of these products we tested were contaminated, we're going to report on that study. It is not our fault that that study occurred. It is not our fault that 95% of those products made it onto store shelves with contaminants. Consumers deserve to know when that happens. So y'all sort your stuff out. I see, Cody. That's not a, thank you for telling me about the other bill. That is not the kind of bill that we don't do those bills. Hey, John. Look, John, I know that you know what we agree because I'm fairly certain this is a headline that we've written before. John asks, do I agree that THC is not a predictor of impairment? Yes, that is established science that the presence of THC metabolites is not indicative of impairment. Now, the presence of THC in blood can corroborate observed impairment, and that's how in some states DUID is prosecuted. That's how it's prosecuted in Virginia, and it's honestly the gold standard for prosecuting. The other way is to pick an arbitrary number and say, well, if it's this number, then you're impaired, and there's no science to support that. So what they're doing when they're using blood tests is a law enforcement officer presumably notices someone is driving potentially impaired, pulls them over, does observations, does a roadside sobriety. If an individual fails that, then they would move on to fluid testing. And then in a blood test for cannabis, you would have a forensic toxicologist come in and testify in court to the results. And if someone had recently consumed cannabis, you would see 2 spikes on their on the graph that analyze their blood sample. That's what that is. But no, in saliva, in hair, in urine, THC metabolites do not indicate impairment. Not given, I see your comment about Arkansas, and there's so many more layers to it that I'm just going to say, I see that. I don't know what that is, Queen. Oh, you mean like the clown in the administration? Yes. Hey, Dennis, how long do I think the North Carolina bill has? I mean, it just got introduced, so give it a second. Here's the thing. Sure. So maybe H413 is a DOA bill in North Carolina, maybe, but it's still an important opportunity for residents, for constituents to tell their lawmakers how they feel about cannabis policy, about legalization. I just dropped a link to that action alert for North Carolina's House Bill 413, which is a legalization measure, and 830 letters have already been sent. We just put this up rather recently, and 830 letters have already been sent. So please share that with your network. I'm not entirely certain how long it's gonna last. It was referred to the Committee on Rules on the 18th, so pretty recent. It was only filed on 4 days ago. Let me see if there's anything else I can tell you about that. Nope, it's there. It's just sitting there in rules because it was just filed. We'll see how long it goes. I hope it gets scheduled for a hearing. You're welcome, not given. Okay, David, we're going to do this and then we're going to go. Hey, everyone who joined us. Hey, Montco, I hope you saw that we talked about Lobby Day. Hey, Breeze Morton. I don't know. Breeze Morton says, respectfully, I wish the cannabis industry would stop tampering with THC levels. I don't know that they're tampering with it. It's just what it is. I wish they would use labs that were run by actual scientists and were well regulated. I wish they would properly label their products and easy to read, with easy to read identifiers, like the information a customer or consumer actually needs. I wish they would do that. I would protect your consumers instead of just trying to make a buck off them. Okay, I'm gonna pull a book from. We'll start with the easy one. This is fun. We'll start with this one. This is a book by Keith Stroup called It's Normal to Smoke Pot. It was published by High Times. This book is a few years old. It's the 40-year fight for marijuana smokers' rights, right here. There's a picture of Keith on the back. Now, here's a picture of the spine. This is probably available online somewhere. It's not currently in print, but it's pretty widely circulated. And to that point, this is Keith sort of reflecting on what was then 40 years of, this is wild, of NORML's work. We're at 55 years, and this month, and when we had our 50th, I'm pulling it up. When we had our 50th, Keith took primarily this content and published a blog series called A Founder Looks at 50. So yes, David, you can find this book online. I don't have any. We had a few copies that we found, and I put them in the NORML store, and they sold out pretty quickly. But you can also read the majority of this content on our website in the A Founder Looks at 50 series. I dropped that in the chat for you. You will want to presumably scroll to the first post and start in order. I'm going to tell you when it begins. We did this a lot. to start. May 1st is the first installment of The Founder Looks at 50, which is updated content from this book. I don't, hey, give me that, Becky. I don't know where this book is available, but it's probably available somewhere. It's not in print anymore. It's normal to smoke pot, in quotes. Let's see if it, oh, someone has it for a lot of money on Amazon. Yikes. It looks like it's in Apple Books. I didn't even know that was a thing. There's something called archive.org. Is that all? Is the whole book? What the hell is this? Oh, great. You're welcome. I just found some random thing. I think this is, I think this might be the whole book online. Yeah, it says it has 251 pages. So I just dropped that. I don't know why it went to the Alan Silber page, but whatever. It looks like this is the whole thing. We'll see. Save those links. Save them now, because we're gonna close this out. Anyhow, great idea, David. It's normal to smoke pot. Available wherever you can find it on the internet, and mostly in the Founder Looks at 50 series. Now I'm gonna have to get I have little stands. I'll put a stand there. One day we'll do the Richmond Public Interest Law Review Journal. Won't that be exciting? I have plenty of copies, don't worry. All right, we actually have, Queen, that's funny you say that. We actually do have the totality of the manuscript now. High Times gave it to us. So we do have it. And, maybe one day we'll do something with that. Right now, we got to keep your rights from being revoked. Oh, I'm sorry, Becky, that the link, I will put the words in here for you, Becky. Becky, when you go to the NORML website, if you don't have to, you can just Google it. You don't have to do that. But if you Google "A Founder Looks at 50," you'll get the whole blog series on the NORML website. There it is in the chat for you now. Save it, because we're almost done. I mean, we should have been done like a long time ago. All right, friends, this has been great. Love our conversations on Fridays. Hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. And let me also tell you really, really quickly about a few things coming up. The National Cannabis Policy Summit is April 28th. It will be at MLK Library in Washington, D.C. You should come and see me there. And Morgan. And our interns. And then also the National, oh, it's taken forever to post. The National Cannabis Festival is July 18th and 19th. That's at the RFK campus in DC, and tickets are on sale now for National Cannabis Festival. This event is going to sell out, so if you want to go, please get that. What about Jax? I know Jax. Jax is great. Hi, Ellie. Thank you. Those things. And then I don't have any, I told you about Montco. NORML has a lobby day coming up. This is Pennsylvania. I'm just going to I'm making up a name for it so I can put it in the chat for you all right now. Pennsylvania Lobby Day is March 24 at 10 a.m. Here's the link. Nope, not answering that. There you go. I think all those things are all the things that I want to tell you about, and I'm going to block that person because you can't sell weird stuff in my web streams. Perfect. Coming up in December, I know this is a ways away, but in December is the NORML Key West Legal Seminar. It's December 4th through 6th in Key West. You can find out all the information at norml.org/Key West. Thank you, John, for your question. John asked, will Jax be at the National Cannabis Policy Summit? No, she will not be, to the best of my knowledge, at the National Cannabis Policy Summit. She is in Texas. All right, friends, this has been a blast. It's up in the air as to whether or not we're going to do a show next week. If we do a show next week, it will be very quick because I have a thing. But everyone, have a great weekend. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I hope you have the best weekend, and sorry. I'll see you all back here next time. Bye-bye.